Hello, great teams. So by now you were supposed to work through the Rivets PowerPoint that I put up on the group and on the D6 communicator. So you'll see at the end of that PowerPoint presentation, there is calculations on rivets. Please work through that Rivet PowerPoints for me properly to make sure what they use rivets for, how do they install it, and what type of different heads do you get of rivets. Go and watch the YouTube video if you can. That also shows you the different heads that they use, and go Google anything about rivets if you don't understand something, or you can just ask me also. But there's so many videos and stuff that you can go and watch about how they install it and what do they use it for, but it's usually used in plates. So you'll see that the rivets work starts on page 101, but I want you to open up your book, your textbook on page 111, because there you're going to find this little table over here. This is my formula sheet that I'm going to use for rivet calculations. You'll also have this when you write tests in grade 10. So this is very important so that you know that's what's going on over here. So before I'm going to start with the actual calculation, I want to show you a few things on rivet joints. Okay, so remember, rivets they use usually in two plates that they want to lock together, but not permanently by using welding. So they would rather use rivets to put them together. Let me just take this away. So the different types of joints that you're going to get is, the first one is called a lap joint. So that's when you take your plate, your two plates that you want to join together, and you basically overlap them. And there's going to go a rivet through there. Okay, so that is called a lap joint. Then you also get something that's called a butt joint. So that is when you have your two plates that is placed to the sides of one another. Okay, so you don't want to overlap the two plates. So what you're going to do is you're going to put an extra plate at the top. That's called a strap. So you get a single strap or you get a double strap where you put another plate at the bottom. Okay, and then your rivets are going to go through the sides. Remember, you can't just put a rivet on this side because then this plate's going to be loose. And you also can't put it in the middle because there's nothing there to support it. So one over here and one over there. And this is called my butt joint, because obviously that looks like a butt now. Then there's different ways that you can put in the rivets. So usually you have a single row and then you also have a double row. So that just depends on the size of the plate that you're using. But when you look at these specifically now, with your lap joint, this is a single row lap joint. So that's when there's only one rivet that's going through. So that's called a single row. Then you also have one where it's a bigger plate that they're using now, or two plates. So now they're putting two rivets through it. So that is called a double row joint. So basically, if you look at these two things from the top, you'll see that it's just going to be two rivets after one another, because you have to have one in the front and at the back. You can't just have one rivet that's joining the two plates. And it can also be more as long as just one row. Then your double row is going to have two next to each other. Okay. And then for your butt joint, you also get two types of rows. So again, you have your butt joint there. Then you have to, with a single row, you have to put only one strap at the top, because you're gonna have one rivet on each side, or one row of rivets on each side. So this is my single row. Ooh, I can't spell. Single row. And it also has a single strap at the top. Then you also get your double row. So that's when you have larger plates that you want to join together. Then you're going to have a double strap, because you're going to have a plate at the top and at the bottom now. because now I'm putting 2 rows of rivets on each side. So it's a double row, but also with a double strap to keep it together. Okay, so those are the ways that I can put it in, or the amount that I can put in, but they can also arrange it in a specific way, and you're going to need all of this when we do the calculations. So the 2 types of arrangements that they usually use, the one is my zigzag arrangement. So if you look from the top, you'll see that they put 1 rivet here and then 1 rivet there, 1 rivet here, 1 rivet there. So this is for a normal lap joint that it will look like this. For a butt joint, it's going to look more something like this. You're going to have the zigzag arrangement, but on both sides, because remember, the plate is joined there by a plate on top of that, those 2. Then you get your your chain arrangement, sorry. So the zigzag can also be called an alternate arrangement. And then your chain arrangement is basically, it looks a lot the same as your zigzag butt joint, but they put 2 on the inside and then 2 on the outside. 2 on the inside and 2 on the outside and 2 on the inside again. Okay, so that forms like a chain then. Then you're also going to see they're going to talk about the pitch. So you remember when we did screw thread, if you look at the sharp points of your screw thread, I said from this point to that point, that distance over there is called my pitch. So your rivets also have a pitch distance. So it will be from the 2 rivets that's in a row, that's underneath each other. So from there, from the center point up until this center point of the rivet, that is my pitch distance, and from there to there. And then the same over here, from this one's center to that one center, that is my pitch. Okay, and then from there to there, it's my pitch. And then you see they're also going to talk about in the formula sheet that you have over there, the distance between your center lines. So basically you need to know the pitch that they have to be from each other over there, and also how far do they need to be from each other on the insides as well. So those are called my distance of the center lines, okay, because you need to know what the spacing is going to be. That is just the spacing between the rivets. But you also need the spacing on the sides, on the edges of my plates. So how far do these rivets need to be in? And that is where we're going to calculate the margin. So those distances on the sides are called my margin. Okay. So for the calculation purposes, I want you to go and write down all of this that I just showed you. And then we're going to fill in what calculations fits with what. Okay, because it's going to make it easier when you go and calculate this actually. So now if you look at your formula sheet, you'll see the first thing that they talk about is the bolt diameter. So remember, the rivet has the head at the top and then also has the bolt at the bottom that goes through. And that has a specific diameter. So just as you have normal M6 and an M8 and an M10 bolt, you're also going to have those sizes for your rivets bolts. So the formula for that is 6,05 times the square root of the thickness of the plate. The T stands for thickness of my plate. So how thick is the plate that this thing is going through? Then the next thing they want to calculate is the pitch. So remember, that was the distance from there to there, in between there. And that is 3 times the bolt diameter. It's not 3D, it is 3 times the bolt diameter that you just calculated there at the top. Then you're also going to get the distance between the center lines. So that is the distance between those centers. how far do they need to be from one another. Okay, just in the middle. But you'll see that there's two formulas. The one is for a chain arrangement, and the other one is for an alternate arrangement, or the zigzag, in other words. So I want you to go to this part that I showed you, that I drew over there, and underneath chain, go and write there for me. The formula for a chain arrangement is the one there, 0,8 times the pitch. Okay, then the one at the bottom is for a alternate arrangement, so 0,6 times the pitch. So underneath this one, you go and write 0,6 times the pitch. Okay, it's important because they're going to tell you in the calculations which type of plate we are working with a chain arrangement or a zigzag alternate arrangement. Then for the margin, to calculate that, it's 1.5 times the bowl diameter that you calculated over there. And then the butt strap thickness. This only applies to, obviously, your butt joints and not to a normal lap joint. Okay. Remember, because you either have a single row butt joint with a single strap. So a single strap is going to be 1,5 times the thickness of the plate. So for single, you go and write 1,5 times thickness of the plate. And then for a double row, you'll see it's 0,625 times the thickness of the plate. Because now you have a double strap, the one at the bottom, the top and the bottom. So 0,625 times the thickness. Okay, so this is all going to be important when we do the actual calculations now. The example that I'm going to do with you is in the PowerPoint. You'll see the example that I put over there. But you can also go check on page 110 in the textbook. You'll see it's over there. So how it's going to work, every time that we do calculations and mechanics, I want you to make a list of the things that are important in this calculation that they are giving you, or the example. Okay, because it's going to help you a lot to do the calculations, because you can see what do you have and what do you need. Okay, so let's start with this example. They say 2 pieces of 9mm thick steel plates. So that's my first important thing. The thickness of my plate is 9mm. Then you write it down. Are joined together by means of a double bolted butt joint. So that means it's a butt joint. So it's joined over there. But it's a double joint, which means it's going to have a strap at the top and at the bottom. And it's going to have double rivets on each side. Okay, it's a double row and a double strap. And what are they saying about the arrangement? With an alternate arrangement. So that means it's the one where it's zigzag. So one on this side, one on there, one there, one there. But it's double, né? Because there is my butt joint. One here, one here, one here, one here. Okay. But you're going to have extras there on the side because you have double rows now. So you're going to have to add there, and there on each side to make it a double row. But you can go look in the textbook how do they show a double and a single row exactly from the top, because you're going to have to draw it in the example as well. Okay, I want you to go do this example in your text, in your book actually. Don't just leave it on the slides. I want you to go and do it by yourself and not just watch what I did there for you. Okay, so they tell you that's an alternate arrangement and a double butt strap. So we know all of this information now. Now they say, calculate the bolt diameter pitch. So actually they put two of the things there together, bolt diameter and pitch. But remember, it's two separate calculations in my formula sheet over there. Okay, so they want you to go calculate the bolt diameter. So that's the symbol for bolt diameter. It's in the formula sheet on page 111. And they want you to go calculate the pitch. Then they want you to calculate the distance between the center lines. Now I want you to go watch there for me, please. Distance between center lines. There's one for chain arrangement and one for an alternate arrangement. Now they said in the question it's an alternate arrangement. So what is the symbol that I have to use there? It's only a C. A plain C. Okay, so you add that to the list that we need to calculate. Then they ask you to calculate the margin. So you add M for me there to your list. And to draw the top view of the bolted joint. You can just go and check in your textbook how you do that. Okay. But I also want us to go and calculate the butt strap thickness because this is a butt joint. Just so you know how to do this. But remember now, you'll see that there's nothing in brackets there. So that means there's no symbol for butt strap thickness. You're going to have to go write that out. So you want to calculate the butt strap thickness. That is part of the list that we want to go and do. Okay. So, but remember, are we working with a single row or a double row? It is a double row, so it's a double butt strap. So that means we're going to have to use the bottom calculation. Okay, so let's go and try this now. Please use a Casio calculator if you have one. It's just a bit easier because I'm using one as well. But if you don't have it, it doesn't matter. You guys know how a calculator works by now. So the first thing that we want to calculate is my bolt diameter. So you go to your formula sheet just to make sure what the formula is. It's 6,05 times the square root of the thickness. So in your list, what did you say, what was the size of the thickness of the plate? It's a 9mm plate. So you're going to say 6,05 times square root of 9. And in your calculator, you're going to put it exactly as it is. So 6,05 times square root 9. And just say equals to. If you don't know how to convert this to decimals, you press this S to D button. Okay, and that's going to give you an answer of 18,15. Now my units that I'm going to work with is millimeters. Remember, we measure everything in millimeters, in metric system. Okay, so all of your answers have to have a millimeter at the back. Otherwise, it's not going to count. I'm not going to give you the marks if there's no unit. You have to write the unit for me. Now, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever seen an M18,15 bolt? I'm not talking about an M18 by 1.5 or 1,5. That's something completely different. Just an M18,15. No, you don't get that. Okay, not for your rivets that we're going to use. So you have to make this converted to the nearest full millimeters that you get. So this is less than 0,5. So that means the nearest one is going to be a M18. So after you've written this, you can either write M18 for me, or you can go and write 18 millimeters. Because we're going to have to use this to do the rest of the calculations. Because my bolt that's going to be at the back of my rivet is a 18 millimeter, not a 18,15. This just helps us to get the nearest size. So let's say your answer was 18,75. Now that is more than 5 now. So that means it would have been 19, a M19 bolt. Okay, but not in this case now. We're going to use M18 or 18 millimeters. Okay, so we know that the bolt diameter is 18 millimeters. Next one on my list is the pitch that I have to calculate. Okay, formula sheet. The formula for pitch is 3 times the bolt diameter. D is for bolt diameter. So you write it like that for me. You can write 3D as well if you want to, as long as you know that it means 3 times the diameter. Okay, so 3 times, what did I get my diameter as? 18. You're not allowed to use 18,15. You have to use the full rounded off number. Okay, and then 3 times 18 gives me 54 millimeters. Then the next one, because we have the pitch in the list now as well, this is now the distance between the center lines. Remember, we're using the alternate arrangement one, so 0,6 times the pitch. So you write C equals, not C1, C equals to 0,6 times my pitch. I just calculated my pitch over there. So it's 0,6 times 54. S2D gives me 32,4 millimeters. Okay, so that is then the distance that the centers need to be from one another. Then, so that is that I got there. We have to go and work out the margin. I'll just take this off. So the formula for margin is 1,5 times the ball diameter. Remember, we calculate the ball diameter as 18, so it's 1,5 times 18. And that gives me 27 millimeters. And then my last thing is the butt strap thickness. Remember, you have to go and write that out. Butt strap thickness. You're not allowed to make your own abbreviations. So we were working with a double butt strap because there's one at the top and one at the bottom. So 0,625 times the thickness of the plate. So remember, the thickness of the plate was a 9 millimeter. So 0,625 times 9. And that gives me 5,63 millimeters. We always round off to 2 decimals. So because there's a 5 in front of the behind the 2, the 5 makes the 2 a 3. Remember that you learned in math. Okay, so now that you know how to do this, I want you to go and try the activities that I've set out in the PowerPoints for you. If you still struggle, you are more than welcome just to ask.